and do a little demo on how to texture this directly in Photoshop. So I'm going to open up Photoshop. But a couple things while that's opening, I want to do is I want to make sure, ooh, look at that. I want to make sure that on here I've got my OBJ export on, and that's in my plugin manager here. And scroll on down to, it's called like obj export.bundle or something. There it is. Make sure it's loaded and auto load. So now that I've got my mesh selected, file, export selection, desktop, character texturing, and I just have a folder called that, and I'm gonna call this character, and it'll be under file type obj export selection. Now in my Photoshop, I'm gonna open this file. And there it is, character OBJ, and you'll even see the 3D mesh here in a perspective view. I'm going to click open. This is all good, 2048 by 2048, resolution's okay, click OK. You are about to create a 3D layer. Would you like to switch to the 3D workspace? Yes. So you're going to see this essentials here, change to 3D, click yes. And now I've got my mesh here. I'm going to start by just attempting to color directly on the mesh. It's going to say one or more materials in this 3D layer are missing a diffuse textures. New diffuse textures will be created for those materials to enable editing. Click OK. And make sure that the width is 2048 by 2048 in this case. And I'm going to go ahead and call this character diffuse. And I'm going to click OK. Now, under character diffuse, I can double click and you'll see my OBJs here. This big range here of this empty space is a separate mesh that I have on the same UVs. So I'll get into that in a moment. And over here, I can start to draw directly on the mesh. So now if I go over here, you'll see I've got this red paint started. Now, yesterday I was going through and I showed you on a little video texturing directly on the UVs. And in a moment here, I'm just running around with the mouse, going ahead and filling this whole thing in. And switch to essentials really quickly because it doesn't have all the same tools. Paint bucket tool. And I'm going to go ahead and fill this in. Now the one thing I showed you yesterday that I tried to put a circle directly on here that did not work very well. So I wanted to go ahead and show you how you can project things directly on the mesh and it'll project directly onto your UVs simply by, there we go, and simply by, if I go here, now he's got a red vest on. So simply by creating, I'm going to go back to 3D. I'm going to go to my shape tool and go to ellipse tool. And again, over here, I want to make sure, I'm going to call this chest. I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to call this, it's called emblem. And here, I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer. And you'll notice it leaves the 3D world space because now we're kind of working in a 2D orthographic. And I'm going to take this circle and I'm going to place it where I would like it. And I'm going to right click on here and I'm going to go merge down. And now he's got that directly on his chest plate here. And you'll see how weird that is on the distortion of the UVs, where if I go over here, you'll notice it looks like a circle. A lot of this has to do with the fact that I sculpted on it after I unwrapped the mesh. But that's okay. I should have unfolded it a little bit more. So I gave him a little bit of muscle tone. And since this has just been a demo, I've been sort of just kind of doing things a little out of order. Well, in this case, I wanted to clean up the mesh and give him a little bit more definition. But that's how you go ahead, and now he's got a perfect circle on there. So if I were to, let's say, go back in here, I'm going to create a new letter and call it, let's say, logo. And I can create all these new layers and so on. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use my text tool. And I'm going to just change this so it's something a little bit different on the text. And make it 200. And grab my text tool one more time. And I'm going to change the color of it to, let's say, I don't know, white maybe? And I'm going to take that and bring it down just a touch. H for my name. And I'm going to now right click here. And it's not going to allow me to merge down, it looks like. Now, how do I fix that? I usually just, as a quick shortcut, if there's a more official way, I don't know because I've been doing it this way for so long. I'll just click with like an eraser tool out in invisible space. It'll say this type of layer must be rasterized before proceeding. Its text will no longer be editable. Rasterize the type. Click OK. And now merge down. And now you'll see the H here on his chest is right there. So you can do that directly with anything such as photos. If you go to CG textures and find something, and you can go to something like, let's say fabric, and let's go with camouflage for now. And I'm going to click on this one, and I'm going to download this one. Show in Finder. And here on my character text string, I'm just going to go ahead and click and drag that into that folder. And in Photoshop, I'll show you one last trick. I'm going to go ahead and open up that camouflage texture. And in here, now here, let me show you guys one more thing. What happens if you this can happen. You can lose connection from this file to this file. It can happen very often, as a matter of fact. So how do you fix something like that? go ahead and just close out of it, click Don't Save, and then here, just go ahead and double click on it, and it should create it with another with a number right after it, and it'll just continue. It won't go diffuse 1, diffuse 2, the amount of times you do this. It'll go 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. So as many times as you do it, it'll just add a 1 to the end of that. Now, I'm going to create a new layer here. I'm going to call this camo. And I'm going to go over here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer. And I'm going to start to just bring this size down a little bit. Something like this. And I'm going to copy that. And now I'm going to go right click, merge down. You'll see I merged that directly down on the character itself. And I'll show you one final trick. It takes a minute. Front. Well, for now, let's just do. I'll do a front. I'll do a side, so I can line them up a little bit more cleanly. So I'll go over here. Do something like that, merge down. New, back. Camo. And here, I'm going to project this directly on the back. Now here's another thing. You see this infinite light one? You can click on that. It gives you this, and you can change the lighting. So now I can see the light on the back of them, and just double click off. I'm going to go ahead and paste this layer again. Right click, merge down. Go to this side. Go back here. Right camo. Right click, merge down. And now I'm going to bring this light back over here. Now I've got this camo on them, but you'll see weird texture stretching. So in order to fix any of that, for the most part, I'm going to start by going Layer, Layer Mask, Reveal All. And I'm going to do that for all of these. Now, what this does, you need to make sure you're on this canvas, basically, not this one. So you're painting on the mask itself. And this is a combination of using white and black. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this off of the arm first, because I only want to use black. Black will hide it. And I'm only going to try to just get rid of any thing, because I only want to focus on the chest right now. And you'll see if as I go from layer to layer on the layer mask, more and more will start to disappear. Okay. Oh. There we go. And that's just for right now, so I'm just kind of getting rid of all this info. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is zoom in here, and on left camo, I'm going to start in right camo. I'm starting to just sort of get rid of some of that info, that texture stretching you saw. So I get a little bit more cleaner in there. And you can use things like clone stamp and things like that. I can switch to a white brush to make that reappear there. There's the spot healing brush, so if I switch to Essentials and I go to my spot healing brush, make the size a little bit larger. On my right camo, it's not working the greatest right now, but as a faster example, I'm going to select all these, duplicate them, and I'm just going to merge them, Command E. And now I'm going to go back to my spot healing brush so I can show you a little bit more of what that does. So this kind of fixes errors in the texture here. So like you'll notice this is just from like the brush being a soft select. You can do things it grabs like the colors from the surrounding area and it begins to sort of clean that area up. You can go in and fix this any way you'd like. And in this particular case, it works really, really well. So it looks like I've got a spot over here that I need to fix up, right? And even over here. So what I'm going to do in these regions, actually before I do that, I'm going to just delete this layer, go back here, and I'm going to fix up from the back. I got some stretching going on here. Oh, duh. Something like so. And now I'm going to redo that. So I want to show you one more thing. Not only can you use the spot healing brush, you can use this clone stamp tool. And I'm going to merge these layers once more. And holding Alt, I'm going to just select a color over here. I'm going to bring the brush size up even larger. And you'll see I'm just from approximately the middle of my screen, I'm just sort of copying the center information, just filling in that region. I'll do the same thing over here using my clone stamp tool. Go over here, start to fill in that area. And now I've got a pretty good start on here. If I go back, it's going to update. And the really nice thing about this is that I've got my seam directly in the back of this character. And the seam is no longer, there isn't a visible seam there, but I have my seam directly in the center of his back. So here, I'm pretty pleased with this, but now let's say I wanted to keep all the information that I did before. I have that red layer, I have my logo and things like that. So what I might want to do, I'm going to take these, I'm going to throw these into a grouped folder and call it Camo Original. And here, I'm going to just bring this, I want to keep it away from the logo and the chest, and I'm going to run an overlay on that. And it didn't work so well. Soft light? No. So this isn't a great example on that particular. Generally, this will overlay directly upon this red. So as I hide the red, you can see. Let's see if I bring it up here. Whoa. And there it goes. Now it's sort of overlaying correctly. I guess I just had to mess with the layers a little bit. The logo and the emblem I'm going to bring above. And the really cool part about this is that, let's say on the emblem I want to change the color. I'm going to double click here, do color overlay, and let's say I want to change it to white now. And let's say I want to change the color of the logo, run a color overlay, and let's say I want to change this color to black. Now when I go back over here, you'll see that I've just changed the texture itself really quickly and easily. And that's some just basic tips in texturing. You do that for every part of the body, and you can get some really great results. Thanks for watching. Oh, and one last thing. Let's go ahead. You can save this out, and this will work fine. And I'm going to save this one out. And we'll call it, put it here in this folder. And I'm also going to save it out, obviously, as, and you'll see this now, it loses connection once you save it. I'm now going to save this out as a TGA. Make sure the alpha channels button is clicked if needed, 32 bits a pixel. In Maya, I'll go ahead and assign it. Oh, you know what? I think I already have blend 1. File. And here it is. Go ahead and open, and now I've got that texture directly on my character. So from this point, let's just say, for instance, I'm going to make it normal, filter, 3D, generate normal map. Okay. Really quick and simple way to create a normal map. Bump mapping here, click the checkbox, file, use as tangent space normals, under file 2, open, normal, open, and here, render, it won't be able to see it in the default viewport. I'll have to change it, and you'll get to the weird bump map on there. Now that was just a really quick way to generate it, but you can see what it's doing, and you actually see the seam more clearly here now as well. But it does an excellent job here. Let's go ahead and bring this back to here. See what it looks like in viewport 2.0. But regardless, you get the idea. That is definitely not the best way. There are better ways to create normal maps, but that's a really quick and easy way that doesn't generate the best results, but it gives you an idea of what it might look like. So there is the how to create textures in a Photoshop projection. Thanks for watching.